I come from that. I didn't do mowing when I was a kid. I wasn't a farmer, good old boy as a kid. I grew up in the school system of America, and I had to go out and seek this out because we aren't taught this stuff. That's the whole point. That's the whole point of the show, to touch people who like really have never had the opportunity to experience creation and the abundance that it provides.
Our potential, it's exponential.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Farmer Jack. Welcome to another episode. And today's show, I wanted to talk about why we started the podcast, really, and just to get right down to it. And the intention is to show people what we've done with growing food and to show what's possible and to show how it can make your life abundant as well. Because literally, I want to just show the models, right? And there's only so many pictures and stories you could hear. I want to have the growers on and really talk about it. So that was the whole goal of this show. And I think growing really isn't integrated into our lives, at least for me growing up in society. Like, I don't see it anywhere, growing plants and having that as a value in our life, like connecting to the land and oneness to source. Aren't we all just looking for that at the end of the day? We're all running around doing our jobs. It's like the garden really reminds me of that. I think there's so much beauty there, and there's so much like fruits of our labor there too. Like, I have all these mangoes on my counter right now. I can't even help myself. It's September, mango season's over. So it's incredible, like really what's possible. So that's the whole goal of this show. And we're so blessed here at Urban Abundance. Like, in our operation, we help people with growing food. And it's such a blessing to see what they want to grow and what they're into, and their kids pulling sweet potatoes out. Like, it's literally magical. Like, every season that blows my mind more and more. Even when I'm like, oh, I've seen it all. It's like, what? Like, look at these carrots or whatever it is. Like, it's so much fun when you get into it. And so I just want to encourage you guys with this episode. I'm going to give you guys some like real things that we could do to phase out the system, empower ourselves, and to grow food at home. Because that's what we're here to talk about in this podcast. Really, that was my intention, to phase out the system that really it's not here to help us. I think that might resonate with a lot of you. Maybe that might trigger a lot of you. It's okay. But for me in my life, I figured out, like, what is a system, right? You know, like institutions, like there's all sorts of systems out here. I was going to these HOAs. That's its own system in itself. Like, it took me 4 gates to get into this place. I'm like, wow, how do we even work around here? You know, it was like so crazy to me. And it doesn't matter. These are just little micro like systems. But my point is, the further your power gets away from you, the less that source of power gives a shit about you. That's what I found. So like, if you get right, like, there's me, then there's my partner and my family, and then there's like my community and maybe my church or my little, who cares? They care. Maybe they know my kid, and they like, there's more of a relationship. Then it goes to community government. They might not care as much about my land as me and my neighbor. Okay, then there's state, and then there's federal, and then there's world government, right? There's all these people that talk about that world government and the UN and all this stuff. That's how I see it. I guess I'm just sharing my perspective, but I like to get my power as close to source as possible. And that's the whole idea of phasing out the system. We're so dependent on these other systems, right? There's legal systems, there's government, systems of presidents and all these systems. And I guess I just think deeply about these things. I've always thought about this as a kid. And that's why I'm really passionate about, like, the garden really gets people empowered, and there's a sense of ownership. That's what we talked about in this last podcast with Cameron, who was amazing. And I delivered plants to him this morning. Shout out Cameron and Food Forest Everywhere, his business. It's incredible. He wanted to support me. He looked at me. I was like, dude, thanks for the support. Like, it took me, this was the place with the HOAs. We'll do anything for the plants. Delivery. But for real, my car was all packed with all these plants that I started, and they were all like pumped. His team was like, whoa, dude, I'm pumped on all these plants. They were all plant people. and they're tuning into the plants and the nature and understanding each individual plant, not just the green wall we grow up with, right? We don't even know what's what. So we were all connecting, and then Cameron looks at me, he's like, hey, I want to support you, man. I was like, yeah, dude, I appreciate it. He's like, yeah, you're doing it local, for real, like local, small scale. And he like looked at me, and that meant something to him. It's not just a Costco plant. It's not just a Home Depot plant. Like, I started this in my backyard this summer. You know, obviously we're a business, a real nursery, but that's how it was. Me and my team put that lemongrass in the pot. And it takes those actions, like getting out there and doing it. So I want to encourage you guys in this episode, start a nursery, start the mechanics. And that's what my masterclass is all about. It's like a total immersion. And I'm actually thinking about having one. I have a grow food at home masterclass, And what that is, it's basically an immersive workshop on how to do these things, how to actually plant the seed. You know, there's so many design courses and philosophy courses in college, right? Horticulture and just like people talking about it. What about like how to actually do it? You know, you'd be surprised how many of my clients, they like need me to be there with them their first time harvesting because they're scared to do it. And it's like, wow, I understand that. Like, they just don't know what to do. They're not familiar. We're not familiar with the garden. So what is my point in all this? I want to get you guys out there growing food in your yards. And that's the point of this podcast. I have growers on to share how they do it, share what fruits work, what veggies work, when to do it. And the key is really tuning in at home, like in your yard, in your space, like tuning into nature. That's what permaculture, that's what all these teachings talk about. Look at your land, like where does the sun come up? You know, where should I have my nursery where I propagate my cuttings? Where should I? And we start to build like a mini homestead wherever we are. But the key is starting plants, getting closer to source. That's the whole phase out the system thing. I think that's just like, in conclusion, I just like digressed on like harvesting with clients and all that stuff. But it's really, you start from somewhere, right? We all start from somewhere. We get off the path and we got to get back on the path and get close to the land. Like, I forget too. It'll be the off season. I won't have salad for weeks because I'd hate buying the grocery store salad. I can't do it. And, you know, soon we're going to have arugula in the next couple of weeks, which is exciting. But, you know, we get back on the path, man, with the planting. And I know it grounds me. Yeah, so that's phase out the system. That's the first one for me because I'm hardcore in that sense, where I really love the independence and food sovereignty, and I'm passionate about it. But there's also empower yourself, which like that's kind of what I was getting at earlier with this sense of ownership. I grew this. Like, you'll see these kids that we grow, they put the green bean in the ground, they come back, they're like, they're blown away. It's like, it really is a beautiful moment to like, you know, experience that. And that's what the garden is. It's an experience. It's not, oh, we planted it, oh, time to harvest. It's not a plug and play, you know, it's not a vending machine or one of these instant, we're so used to the Amazon culture of just like, next day we're going to have this. But actually, when you're growing with the seasons, it takes like 30 days to get your quick crops, which is okay. Like, a month goes by like that. Like, I'll tell you right now, you'll probably just totally relate. A month goes by like that. So why don't you plant your first arugula seeds and watch it grow? In 30 days, you'll be eating it. And it's amazing. And, you know, every crop has different days of maturity, but then you learn that, and you're like, oh, again, it's about having certainty in the garden. And I think that's what we do in Urban Abundance. We give people that certainty before they even know what's going on. It's like, hey, those carrots take 4 or 5 months. They're not ready. It's month 2. So it's like that, empowering. Like, I know these carrots are going to take 4 months because that's how me and my ancestors have been doing it. All these years, the carrots take 120 days, and you start pulling them out the ground. But here's the trick. It takes seeding them. We could talk about it all day long. It takes planting them. So it's like, oh, we could get upset. Oh, it's not instant. Amazon, Whole Foods lifestyle right away. But the payoff is great, and I stand behind it. It's amazing. And we'll get into that real quick. And then it's grow food at home, which is basically this, guys. Check it out. Here's the real secret. You want to know what it is? I already told you it's planting. That's obvious. I'll say it one more time, planting. But the real secret is veggie gardens, kind of more delicate, herbs, quicker crop, tomatoes, whatever you want to grow in your veggies. And then there's food forests, which, what is that? Like, it's a fruit trees. It's kind of all the perennials, the crops that'll live for several seasons. It's creating kind of the forest environment that's meant to be grown in nature, and it's replicating that and accelerating that, really. So those are the two things, veggie garden and food forest. So I just get started on planting that. I think that's a good takeaway from today. And if you already started, awesome. Like, I'm preaching to the choir a lot of the time. I appreciate you guys out there doing it, but do more. I freaking started. I just did this video. We just started like thousands of plants. I can't even think straight. We've been literally seeding these trays and watering them and babying them, and they look great for our members this season. It's September. We're going right into the kind of the season, October, November, when we're going to be planting everything, kale, tomatoes, arugula. And the key is getting them in the ground. No one's going to do it for us. That's the point of this podcast. No one's doing it for us. And you know what? Planting is not normal, but it's all good. I don't want to be normal. I don't want to be normal in this society. And I think that's a good thing. Like I think with COVID and all this, like, man, all these companies and cultures is not cool. I don't want to be the mainstream, like, cause it's not the life I want to live. So my point is, let's make the uncool cool with planting. And I think in our natures, it is cool. We just get conditioned, like city domesticated people, and they know it's cool. I think a lot of people know it, but they just don't understand it. So that's the point of the show, to bridge the gap, man. That's the whole point of our urban abundance, really, is to bridge the gap with people like me. I come from that. I didn't do mowing when I was a kid. I wasn't a farmer, good old boy as a kid. I grew up in school system of America, and I had to go out and seek this out because we aren't taught this stuff. That's the whole point. That's the whole point of the show, to touch people who, like, really have never had the opportunity to experience creation and the abundance that it provides. And it's a blessing. So I hope you guys got something out of this. Key takeaways is plant, like us, subscribe us, because we appreciate your support, and we super appreciate you guys doing that, because we want to be able to get this message out more and more. And we love you. We'll see you next time. Peace.